Welcome to our Universal Design for Learning series. Universal Design for Learning is an educational framework to improve and optimize teaching and learning for all people. The UDL framework guides the design of instructional goals, assessments, methods, and materials that can be customized and adjusted to meet individual needs in order for all learners to have an equal opportunity to succeed. This series will provide strategies and resources to apply the UDL framework to online courses through formal didactic portions, followed by a case presentation. This is an opportunity for you as the participants to present a case of a student and get feedback and resources from our content specialist, as well as other participants. This is a way for everyone to learn about new resources and ways to assist your students and become expert learners. So we encourage you to take part in the case presentations during the group discussion portion after each one of the didactic sessions. Today, we probably won't have time for a case presentation since it's our first session and we have a lot to get through today, but please note that next week we will be discussing a real life student. Your participation is key to the success of our ECHO. We aim to create an interactive community where our presenters, stakeholders, and community members support each other during a session. So we encourage you to turn on your camera if you're comfortable. And we also appreciate when you're engaged in asking questions after the sessions and also providing resources and different strategies during the case presentations. So if there is a student that you're wanting some additional support with, please let us know and we can incorporate them into this project or into future programs. Confidentiality is of utmost importance. Please do not share any information that may identify any students, such as real names or initials that might identify them. And just a couple of housekeeping notes. All the slide decks can be found in iEcho. I hope you guys didn't have too much trouble logging into today. This is a new platform that we're using. This is our second ECHO series that we've launched with this platform, and we do use it to house all of the slides. So if you go under iEcho, under content, you should be able to download all of that. We also create additional resources that we send out after each session, and those can be found there, as well as being emailed out to you. The sessions are recorded and available for later viewing. Some might be shorter than others if we are discussing a real life student. So we'll go ahead and start with some introductions. I'm Krista Opstedal. I'm the Project ECHO director here at Minot State University. Laurie, I appreciate your little smile. I was thinking about you when I made the slide. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Reiswig. That is actually a video of me in the morning, and I've been working with Project ECHO for a couple of years now. Also been with the A-STEP program for a little over 5 years now, and Impact Consortium at the North Dakota Center for Persons with Disabilities at Minot State. I'm happy to be here.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I'm Kyle Erickson. I'm a part of the ECHO team here at Minot State. I'm also one of the newer members of the Impact Consortium here at Minot State.
And I would also like to acknowledge some of our partners that we've worked with throughout creating this series. We've worked with NDSU, which is featuring Mark Coppin and Molly McKinnon and Jordan Bentz. They are actually presenting today, so I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves when they get to their slides in that section. I also want to thank Maggie for being here. She's with Dakota College of Botano, who's also helped us with creating this series. And then just give a special shout out to Jody Patchen. She's part of our ECHO team, but she's kind of on the sidelines for this one here, but she'll probably be pulled in if we need her in the future. So we'll go ahead and get started with today's session. We are going to talk about an introduction to the Universal Design for Learning and some principles in incorporating UDL into online coursework. So please help me introduce Molly McKinnon.
Hi, thank you. I'm Molly McKinnon. I currently work at NDSU as a program coordinator for a new program called Transition and Access Program, which serves students with intellectual disabilities ages 18 to 26 in their higher ed education journey. Most of my career has been spent in K-12, dabbled a little bit deaf, hard of hearing, mostly in the classroom working with severe to profound disabilities, and then kind of went into some administration work And then most recently, just finished my doctoral program, which kind of wrapped me around how I am in this UDL group. I did my dissertation on universal design for learning, went over to Kenya and stayed for a little over a month, and was in different special education units there. And I took the UDL framework as my guide to look at education in Kenya and how and what they use and how can we support those new American students when they come to the United States. I had experienced a very large increase in my case management, and so that's why I was interested in that. So that's kind of me. So my role is we'll talk about our learning objectives. When you are done, you should be able to know what UDL is, kind of a nice solid background of it. Identify the benefits of using UDL in your college coursework or your classroom or whichever part of your life you choose to use this. Really being able to differentiate between what are accommodations and what is accessibility. And then also recognize some resources within your campus community. Next, please. Okay, so to start off with, I'm just kind of going to give you a little bit of an overview of UDL. It's been around for a really long time. Actually, in my master's program in 2004, I took a class on UDL, and so it's been around for a very long time. Universal Design for Learning is a framework that really optimizes our teaching and learning. It's a scientific-based framework that helps us how we can support humans learn in their natural ways. And so I really loved the idea that UDL is not a one-size-fits-all. We don't create anything in education as one-size-fits-all, but UDL supports us in a way that is alternative for everyone. And it should just be natural. It shouldn't be an alternative because of your disability. I'm going to do this. It's just you are given a different way because that's who you are. We don't want it to be an add-on later. We want it to be designed from the beginning. And that honestly, when you get into UDL, when you can get into that nice routine of adding UDL, it's quite quick and it will start to come naturally for you. And then access for some changes into access for everyone. And we don't need that diagnosis of having a disability. It supports everybody. It supports new Americans. It supports language learners. It supports people with processing disorders that aren't under the disability category. And so that's the really great thing about Universal Design for Learning is we do not have to really tie it into any disability. We can just look at the human race and know that we're all different people and we need different things. Next slide. So there are like 3 main pillars or areas of Universal Design for Learning, and they look at kind of the what, the how, and the where of learning. And so the first one is multiple means of action and expression. And this looks at the how of learning. So what are you doing to engage that student and letting them know they have purpose and that it's not just given in one way. They can't just tell you in one way, whether it be you have to give a speech verbally, or you have to do it in this amount of time, or you need to provide it written with 500 words. So the actions of the activity can be flexible, knowing that you're not changing the rigor of what you expect from that assignment. And so some examples are looking at like how they present the information to you. Maybe it could be options as a verbal speech. Maybe it could be a recorded speech. Maybe it could be a character sketch. Or you can look at different ways of how calendars and checklists can support students within your classroom. And also another big area that supports the action and expression is assistive technology. Speech to text and text to speech is a really big one that can support some of those learners that might have a hard time either with the typing or maybe spelling if English is a second language, and so those words pop up for them. So that's one way, is the multiple means of action and expression. The why of learning is multiple means of engagement. And so in your classroom, looking at how your students engage with you, your class, and the coursework, having it be more automatic for them instead of being told what they're going to do. So some examples, and we will, as we get into the weeks of the sessions, we'll really dive into these each individual pillars more specifically and give really concrete examples, and then you can kind of take your work and look at it and how does that fit in my coursework? What could I do differently? How could I support some of these students? And we can work through all of that. But just some quick introduction ways for engagement is using strengths of your students, incorporating different lessons from other cross curriculum, clearly letting the students know what the goals are and what you expect out of them, but also allowing them to choose the topics that maybe they were to write about, gives them that ownership of their learning, and then the motivation comes along with that for their engagement. When you talk about students with disabilities, there's a lot of different assistive technology that can support students too with engagement within a class. And so we'll talk about that too as we break that down in the following weeks. And the last one is multiple means of representation. And this is the what of learning. And this really is kind of your planning and how you present your information to your class. And so are you providing visual, auditory, tactile? What options are you providing for that visual? Is it in a different language? So making it easy and adjustable in the fonts and the sizes, the background colors, all of that is really important for students, and using technology that supports you will really, really help you in that endeavor. So the material that you present to students, really looking at that and making sure that it's accessible to all learners. And as we know, as educators, it is hard to deliver curriculum to a very diverse population. And I think what you'll find when you dive into UDL is that your thoughts and your ideas become really flexible. And then the tools, you'll find tools that you use and you will naturally go to, and it just becomes a very quick process. It can feel overwhelming at first because it is a very detailed framework, but as you dig into it, you will find those pieces that you really work with and that fit your curriculum and fit your topic. And so that will be really helpful as we dive into it in the following weeks. And always remembering with UDL that the framework is set up to support all learners, not just learners that have disabilities, but all learners on your campus. And it can really support you as a professor in being able to have an inclusive classroom without needing to always necessarily provide it as an accommodation. And that's a very welcoming feeling for many students to know that you are open to that. So, all right, so that is a very, very quick, oh, I forgot about one slide, sorry about that. So the benefits and the outcomes, people who have done research and various studies on universal design for learn have come to 3 common themes. Integration has been a very big theme. UDL gives all students equal access to education, and we know that is really important at the university level. Adaptation was another theme that popped up. UDL will make natural adjustments without having that student feel necessarily like they stand out because of their disability. It's a natural adjustment that you wouldn't know why they needed that accommodation for any student, and that's a really good feeling for a lot of people. And instead of expecting all children to have the same answer or the same response, we know we're doing it just because we're a diverse world. And that lastly, another benefit was UDL really provides motivation. It gives us engagement, the students have more confidence, and the curiosity comes. And so it really helps increase that motivation within your class. So that's a very quick, brief overview of UDL, what it is, the framework, and then in the following weeks, we break down each of those frameworks. All right, Mark, you're up.
All right. Okay. So just a brief introduction of myself. Currently, I'm the director for the Center for Accessibility and Disability Resources at North Dakota State University. For about 35 years now, I've been an assistive technology professional. And I worked for 32 years. I worked as the director of assistive technology at a nonprofit center in North Dakota. I've done a lot of stuff with assistive technology, and again, currently I'm the director of the Center for Accessibility at NDSU. Been here about 4 years, so I've gone from that K-12 to higher ed. So I've kind of seen that whole continuum and how UDL will benefit across both from K-12 all the way to higher ed. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So what we're going to talk about real quickly and just a brief overview is when we look at accessibility and what's the difference between accessibility and accommodations, which we provide in higher ed, and how they're different and how they are the same. Next slide. So when we talk about accessibility, we talk about universal design on a high level. Basically, it refers to designing products, environments, services, or information in a way that can be used by the widest range of people, regardless of abilities. It focuses on the initial design and development of things to be more inclusive. Typically, when we take a look at stuff that needs to be modified, we're retrofitting something. Whereas if we're designing it from the onset, with accessibility in mind, we make sure that things are accessible to as many people as possible. And the goal of accessibility is to create an inclusive, barrier-free environment and products that can be used by everyone, irrespective of their abilities. So when we take a look at UDL, we're applying that to education. Next slide. When we take a look at accessibility, refers again to those designing of those products and environments to be used as widely as possible. That's where we saw buildings becoming accessible, curb cuts, automatic door openers, and those types of things. We're providing access. And what they found out when we were providing access is these accessibility accommodations that were made for persons with disabilities actually made sense for everybody. Everyone could take advantage of them, and it made everybody's life easier. Next slide. Again, we focus on the initial design of things to be more inclusive. And so from the perspective of in the classroom is when we're designing our curriculum, what are we doing to make sure that we're accommodating the needs of all the students in that classroom, and giving students options based on their learning styles to be able to present information, to be able to take in information, and to be engaged in that learning process. Next slide, please. And really the goal is to create that inclusive environment, irrespective of their abilities. If you're designing your curriculum to meet the students who are the hardest to make accommodations or meet their needs in a classroom, you're going to make sure that you meet the needs of everybody in that classroom. Next slide. When we talk about accommodations, and accommodations are different than when we look at accessibility, because accommodations are very specific adjustments, modifications to support students with disabilities in a classroom, and ensure that they can access and participate in activities and services or environments that may not be fully accessible for them without such support. So these are what we call, again, accommodations. And they really are looking at what are the barriers that are in a classroom, what are the barriers in that curriculum that are preventing the students from accessing that curriculum. And then we provide accommodations to overcome that. And it's a little bit different than K-12. When students are in K-12, what we look at is making sure that the student is successful. So we look at those tools to assure that they're going to be successful. When you get to higher ed, we're not going to necessarily guarantee success. We're going to make sure that we guarantee access. Of course, we want success, but we're not going to necessarily look at those tools that will provide the student to, we're not going to guarantee that they're going to be successful. We're going to make sure that they have access. Next page, please. So accommodations are really tailored to meet the needs of an individual or a person with a disability. They're really designed to level that playing field and provide equal opportunities for individuals with disabilities. Next. So when we look at accommodations, we take a look at things like various assistive technologies or access with assistive technologies, extended time for examinations, sign language interpreters, accessible format for documents, or it could be physical modifications to facilities to make them wheelchair accessible. So what we'll do is we'll meet with the students and we'll decide what are some of the accommodations that they will need for each individual course. And we will meet with the faculty member and discuss what are some of those accommodations that need to happen. Next. So again, typical accommodations, these are what we see, are the most typical that we see at NDSU. And if you go to any campus, these are probably the same type of accommodations that you'll see that are most of the time that are given to students. Testing accommodations, and there are various different things we will do for testing accommodations. Quiet environments, we'll look at extended time for examinations and those types of opportunities for students to be in different environments when they take their examinations. Also providing documents in an alternate format. Some students who have difficulty utilizing paper books, can't hold a book, maybe can't have difficulty reading a book, providing that in a digital format. So they have different ways that text can be manipulated. It can be enlarged, it can be colored, it can be read back to them. So there's many different ways that we can provide alternate formats. We provide note-taking supports. Several of our students need to have support for note-taking. So we give a lot of different opportunities for students to be able to have their notes taking or having notes provided for them. And support for assistive technologies. We do provide some assistive technologies, but most assistive technologies are personalized to that student, but we want to make sure that we have them in a format that they can utilize their assistive technologies. And of course, we provide sign language interpreters for our students who need sign language interpreting, or we may provide live captions if we need to be able to do that also. Next. So when we take a look at accommodations, the students meet with us, they identify where they're struggling, what barriers that they're encountering in the classroom. When we take a look at UDL, if we have some of these solutions that are built into the curriculum and are built into the classroom and the design of the classroom, it gets to the point where we no longer need accommodations because they're just inherently a part of that classroom. So when we took, there are several UDL solutions that will allow us to be able to overcome. So when we take a look at testing, there are many different ways that we can find UDL solutions that we will no longer need testing accommodations. One of them is providing alternate testing formats. So instead of the traditional paper pencil test, consider doing alternate assessment formats such as projects. Students can do presentations, they can present portfolios, they can write essays, but this accommodates really various different learning styles and preferences for the students. Another way you can do that is varied response formats. So the student can choose a wide range of response formats. For instance, they could write the response, maybe they can create a video or give an oral presentation, or use multimedia to demonstrate their understanding. Open book or open note assessments. A lot of our faculty are moving to that, where students are allowed to be able to have an open book when they do their assessment. They are able to bring their notes in, or the faculty will provide them with notes that will help them. So we move away from where the students have to memorize information, but moving to how are they applying that, so we can really see what they've learned and how they're able to apply that. Collaborative assessments are basically where students work together in groups and group projects and do assessments. So that in order to complete a project, to show what they've learned, because that's the most important thing. Maybe it's not memorizing things, but maybe it's how are they applying it? How are they learning? How are they working in a group project or a collaborative effort? So they can bring in a diverse learning skill set to skill sets and backgrounds to that testing or assessment. And then alternate timelines, giving students the ability to, with flexibility with assessment deadlines, allowing them to complete assessments with a broader time frame. So again, one of the things that we find is a lot of students really have a difficult time taking a test in a 50-minute period. But if we remove that time as an issue, students especially with anxiety, ADHD, learning disability, are able to really show what they learn because they're not worried about that clock, and time isn't an issue with completing that assessment. Next page. So when we talk about UDL solutions to alternate formats, are we getting presentations in a multimedia format? Maybe it's audio, maybe it's video. Are there different formats that we can bring that information in? Recorded books, just a wide variety of options for us to be able to have the materials in an alternate format. The next thing is providing them in an accessible format, having accessible materials in a digital format. At NDSU, we have Blackboard Ally, and Blackboard Ally really is a valuable tool, because when faculty will upload their Word documents, their PowerPoint presentations in an accessible format, what Blackboard Ally will do is will convert that into a variety of different formats. It'll be a tagged PDF. It may be in an audio format. It'll be available for a student in Braille, and all they have to do is download it. So we don't have to make all those conversions. That Blackboard Ally is software in the background that will do all those conversions. And a student, whether they have a diagnosed disability or not, can get these alternate formats and download them. So what's good for one is good for all. And again, caption videos, there's a lot of research out there that shows that a lot of people who are not deaf are actually using caption videos. They use it as cognitive supports. English as second learner students will use it when they're in class. So there's a lot of different benefits for caption videos. So making sure that you have all your videos captioned. Next slide. UDL solutions for note-taking supports. Again, a lot of our students need note-taking supports, but there are different solutions that if you're building that into your classroom, that takes away the need for us to providing that as accommodation. Digital note-taking apps. At NDSU, we have a digital note-taking app called Glean. If that's available to all students, then they can use that in the classroom. It records the lecture. It allows you to take notes. It allows you to be able to share notes. A really, really good tool for note-taking. Another easy thing to do is to record lectures. So if you record your lectures, most of us have cameras in their classrooms now. You can record the lectures, and students can go back and review, and work on their notes. If they need to, look at their notes and accentuate their notes. They can go back to the lectures. They can pick up what they missed and those types of things. So recording lectures is really valuable. A lot of our faculty are starting to do that, record the lectures and have those available for students. Again, a great tool. Collaborative note-taking. There's some software out there where students can work together and create notes. So everybody in the class is working on creating those notes, and it can benefit every one of the students to be able to go back and look at the notes that the rest of the class have taken. Guided notes or faculty notes. Several faculty that we're working with now say, you know what, we're going to put some guided notes out there so the students can follow along and maybe fill in a blank, or they can look at the notes as we're going through the lecture, or faculty will actually provide support notes. So the students, instead of the physical act of taking notes, can actually go back and use those notes as they're going through that lecture. Presentation materials for class are really important. Having that keynote before class, or a PDF before class, or material that are presented in front of the class, if they can get that ahead of time, so they can kind of prepare themselves what's going to happen in that class, or as that class is going along, to be able to not have to write down everything on a slide is really, really important. And we talk about all of these different supports that UDL can do. Is everybody in the class should be able to take advantage of these, not just those students that have a diagnosed disability. Next slide, please. So universal design for learning is valuable in creating a really inclusive educational environment. However, it will not ever replace the need for individual accommodations for students with specific or unique disabilities. We always know that someone's going to need a specialized accommodation. It's not going to get rid of the accommodations, but it's going to make it a lot easier for us to really provide supports for students who maybe are not identified with a disability, or those students who are identified but maybe do not want to register with us. But there's always going to be accommodations. Like I said, I've been working in the field of assistive technology. The need for assistive technology has really narrowed, because we see these things that are built into our operating system, these universal design tools that are available for us. One example is text-to-speech that we have on all of our mobile devices and all of our computers, the ability to be able to highlight text and have it read back. When I started in the field of assistive technology, that was really expensive technology. Now it's on our mobile devices. The same thing with dictation or voice recognition. Just a part of our operating systems. No longer is it something that we have to provide assistive technology or accommodations for, because if things are in a digital format, they're accessible. Next slide. Thank you.
That's me. I'm Jessica Reiswig. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a research associate at the North Dakota Center for Persons with Disabilities. If we use our imagination, my background in history will sound half as exciting as Mark and Molly's. Okay, so I need y'all to work with me. I have 5 years of experience in post-secondary education, and I'm a passionate advocate for inclusive work environments. I take pride in working with North Dakota's first inclusive post-secondary education program, ASTEP. And I use that experience to help other regions develop their own inclusive programs, thanks to my involvement with Impact. In today's session, I'm just going to give a quick overview of post-secondary education programs, explaining what they offer and why they're so important. Next slide. So inclusive post-secondary education, which is often called by its acronym IPSE and is also often referred to as inclusive higher education, is college for individuals with intellectual disabilities. IPSE programs provide students equal access to academic classes, employment opportunities, those can be on campus or off campus, the social events, athletics, the offices on campus, dorms, residence life, dining halls, the cafeteria, and even Creek life. IPSE programs offer or allow students to take classes for credit or audit and provide them with the opportunity to work towards earning a certificate or a degree. Upon graduation, our hope is for our graduates to have the skills they need to have a well-paying, competitive job, to further their education if that's something they like to do, and for them to live as independently as possible with the skills and experience gained from their time in our programs. Next slide. IPSE relies on peer-to-peer models where fellow college students, as mentors, offer guidance and support to peers with intellectual disabilities. So that support is in class, on the jobs, at social events, and wherever it's meaningful and needed. These mentors might be hired and paid mentors. They could also be volunteer mentors, and they may also be practicum mentors that are assigned shifts with students as required hours for a class. This unique peer-to-peer approach creates an inclusive and supportive learning environment through offering mutual assistance and encouragement and even friendship. Next slide. In North Dakota, the first inclusive college program was A-STEP. A-STEP started in 2010 with just a couple students for the first year. I believe it was 1 or 2. And now here we are in 2023 with 16 enrolled students in our program here at Minot State. Our students sit in class alongside their peers. They work paid jobs in the communities. They attend the social events. They may even win the campus talent show like our student just did. They live in dorms. They can have a roommate if they would like, and they make real lasting friendships at college, and they also gain lots of skills and experience. Next slide. Through our work with the Impact Consortium, we're helping develop programs in other areas of North Dakota, including the TAP program at NDSU, which is having a fabulous first year in Fargo. They have 4 students currently enrolled. Sorry for my stuttering there. Aspire is in their 2nd year at the Dakota College at Bottineau, and coming this spring, Valley City State University will be launching Viking Pathway. And from the last I heard, they still have 1 spot available for a student. So if you know someone interested, please reach out to me and I can connect you. Next slide. Students with intellectual disability can go to college. It's always surprising to me how many people are unaware of the programs available. While accommodations and access services on campus might be better known, the possibility of college for young adults with intellectual disabilities is often overlooked. That's why we want to raise awareness and improve college access for all. So I'd like to share with you a 60-second video from the Think Higher, Think College initiative. Their goal is to increase knowledge of inclusive college options, share information about the benefits and outcomes of students with intellectual disabilities that attend college, and offer people ways to spread the message of Think Higher, Think College.
The best thing about being in college is being in a dorm, getting to meet new people.
I wanted to come to KU because of the classes and I wanted to take choir.
There are more than 420,000 school-age students with intellectual disability, but only 2% of them are likely to attend college after high school.
Including students with intellectual disabilities at KU makes the entire university a better university.
It's really got people to realize that we have to focus on universal access and doing things in universal design.
College has changed me because it's helped me grow up, getting a job or living on your own.
It's a time to be serious. It's a time to learn. I have the skills to live on my own one day.
Think higher, think college for students with intellectual disability. College is possible for students with intellectual disability. Take the first step at thinkhighered.net, a project of Think College.
Well, thank you so much to all of our presenters today. That was a fantastic presentation. Does anybody have any questions? As Molly had mentioned, as we progress through this series, we will look into these different areas a lot more in depth and provide a lot more tools and resources under each category. So today we meant for it to be kind of a broad overview. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to unmute or dump it into the chat. I did forget to mention that I'm currently a graduate student at the University of North Dakota, and so it's actually really cool to hear some of these strategies, specifically when Mark was talking about like alternative note taking and like providing students with notes. I'm technically in my senior year. I graduated in May, and I just now had a professor that would give me notes in like all these different formats, and I was like, you know, this would have just saved me so much time and energy if like all of my professors had done this. So there's a lot of merit to all of this, even for people without disabilities. I have a couple diagnoses that fall along the more mental health spectrum side of things. So, you know, anxiety could be a big one, especially when it comes to test taking and keeping up with the teacher, because I will consistently try to take notes verbatim. So yeah, I just appreciate some of these strategies, and I'm really excited to hear from some of our additional specialists that we have coming on down the road that can provide us with more strategies and techniques.
I think one of the things just like to expand on a little bit is the importance of creating your documents in a digital format from the onset, because once they're in that digital format and they're accessible in those, then it gives us the opportunity really to provide them in alternate formats depending on what a person needs. Again, we take a look at providing a digital format like in a Word document that's tagged. It allows you to be able to, a person who's blind, obviously, to be able to go through and maneuver through a document. However, cognitively, it makes a lot of sense, because if I have a really long document and it's tagged, I don't have to go through the whole entire document to get to a specific spot. I can just click on it, but then I can create it into an audio format, and I can put that on my iPhone, and I can listen to it in an audio format because it's it's converted over. I can change the color, I can change the size, I can highlight in it, I can extract highlights. Just gives you a lot more options if they're in an auditory format, so that information that comes in is really beneficial. So again, if we're creating things with accessibility in mind, and we're creating things with UDL in mind, it's so much easier than going back and trying to fix it later. So again, it's just really powerful tool. And I think UND has Blackboard Ally also, and such a powerful tool. When we rolled ours out, all of a sudden we looked at our numbers and we couldn't figure out why the numbers were really, really high for students downloading them, because they found it on their own. And all of a sudden these students were downloading them. It's not just the students that we were telling about them, but students were finding this, you know what, I want to have it in an audio format. I want to have it tagged. So there really is that need out there, and for people to get information in the way that makes most sense for them.
So Mark, you said that Blackboard Ally is available to the North Dakota University system.
I think it's on UND, I know has it, and so does NDSU. I'm not sure if the rest of the universities have that or not. But again, if you go into Blackboard, and you'll notice there's just like a little arrow down there that will allow you to be able to download in, I think it's like 9 different formats.
Yeah, this is Doug from Iowa State. We have that as well with our Blackboard.
That's awesome. Do you find students using that a lot?
Yeah, we use it, and we use it quite a bit in our, in our Office of Instructional Technology. It's how we fix ADA issues for our online courses. But yeah, students use it as well.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing on Blackboard announcements, there's a quick start for students on kind of the splash page. So definitely check that out. I mean, I'm seeing it from UND side of things. So yeah, just check out your institutions to see if that's available, and maybe let students know so that they're not having to find out about this. Because I'm not going to lie, every time I log into Blackboard, I'm going straight to my grades. I'm going straight to the lessons. I'm not paying attention or, poking around in there. So, and thanks, Doug, for letting us know about what's available at Minot State. We do have a comment in the chat that says Dakota College at Botno also has it available. So yeah, I guess if there's one thing you can implement today is letting students know about this. Well, we actually finished up a little bit earlier. If you guys don't mind, can we stop the recording and take a moment to go ahead and unmute and